Okay, let's dive right in. For a long time, the software bill of materials, the SBOM, has kind of been treated like a receipt for your code, something you file away. But that's all changing, and fast. Today, we're going to talk about a huge shift, moving the SBM from just being passive audit evidence to being a powerful, active control that actually governs your software supply chain. And this quote, wow, it just hits the nail on the head. You see, just having an SBOM sitting in a folder somewhere, that can give you a really false sense of security. The real value, where you actually start reducing risk, comes from what you do with the data inside it. And this is the fundamental change in thinking we're talking about. The old question was just a simple checkbox, right? Do we have an SBOM? Yes? Okay, great, we're done. The better, more mature question is all about integration. How is that SBOM data actually plugged into our process? How is it informing decisions, maybe even blocking deployments, and making our software safer before it gets out the door? So that brings us to what I call the SBOM illusion. It's this mistaken belief that just because the document exists, the risk is somehow managed. And as we're about to see, in today's world of super fast development, that is a really dangerous assumption to make. Oh man, we've all been there, haven't we? The dreaded audit scramble. An auditor calls, and suddenly it's a mad dash to pull together screenshots, find logs, dig up approvals from months ago. Look, that process was barely holding on when we had quarterly releases. In a world of CI/CD, where code goes from a developer's keyboard to production in minutes, it's completely, utterly broken. And if this slide looks painfully familiar, you are not alone. For so many organizations, the pipeline spits out an SBOM and then crickets. It just sits there, gathering digital dust, until a crisis hits. All the real risk decisions are still happening manually, in Slack or in meetings. And the GRC team, they're left trying to piece together the story way after the fact. That's not control, folks. That's just paperwork. So how do we fix this whole mess? Well, we have to evolve our thinking. We need to completely transform the SBOM from a static file we look at later into a dynamic, active tool that works for us in real time. And this comparison illustrates the shift perfectly. A passive SBOM is like looking in the rearview mirror. It tells you what was in a piece of software. It's a history lesson. But an active SBOM, that's you grabbing the steering wheel. It helps you decide if that software should be allowed to move forward. It becomes a checkpoint, a gate, not just a historical footnote. You see, the future isn't about getting better at that frantic audit scramble. It's about eliminating it altogether. In a modern GRC program, evidence shouldn't be something you hunt for. It should be a natural, automated byproduct, a constant stream of metadata flowing from every single build, giving you a live view of your controls. Okay, this brings us to the ultimate litmus test. If you really want to know how mature your software supply chain governance is, you only need to ask one simple but very, very revealing question. And there it is. Can your automated systems, your pipeline, actually stop or release cold because of something it found inside the SBM? A specific vulnerability, a risky license, an unapproved package? If the answer is no, then what you have is an inventory list. You don't have a control. I mean, really think about it. When that new critical vulnerability pops up, what's the chain of events at your company? Does the pipeline just keep on chugging along, or does it automatically stop? Does security get an alert? Is there a formal, documented way to grant an exception? And this is the big one. Can you prove any of this happened months later without having to reconstruct it all by hand? This is exactly what we mean when we say an SBOM needs to become a true control input. The data isn't just for a person to look at eventually. It's fed directly into an automated system that checks it against your policies and then takes action. That, right there, is the difference between having visibility and having actual governance. Okay, so we've laid out the problem and the goal. Now for the fun part. Let's get practical. How do you actually make this happen? This next section is your action plan, your roadmap for turning your SBOMs into a core part of your GRC program. The key mechanism here, the real workhorse of this whole operation, is the policy gate. Think of it as the bouncer for your CI/CD pipeline. This is the point where you stop just generating data and start making automated decisions with it. It's where your written policies become real, enforceable rules in your code. So what does that actually look like? Well, for example, you could set a policy to automatically block any deployment that has a critical vulnerability with a known exploit. No human intervention needed. Or you could require a formal security review for a brand new high-risk open source library. You can even block a release if the SBOM wasn't generated properly in the first place. This is literally turning your policy into code. So here's your playbook. It's an 8-step path, and it's totally doable. 1. Start simple. Just figure out where SBOMs are being generated today. 2. Define Greer ownership. This is huge. Who from security, engineering, and GRC is on the hook for this data? 3. Map that SBOM data to your actual control requirements. Make it relevant for your auditors. 4. Establish clear thresholds. What triggers an alert? What needs a manual approval? And what's a hard stop and absolute block? 5. Integrate the results into the tools your teams already use, like Jira or Slack. Don't make them learn a new system. 6. Create a standardized, auditable exception process. No more approvals lost in chat threads. 7. Report on risk trends to leadership. Show them the value. And finally, number 8, test the thing. Run a fire drill to make sure it all actually works before real crisis hits. So, when you put all these pieces together, what does the future actually look like? Well, you get a fundamentally different kind of assurance. It's one that's continuous, automated, and baked right into your process, not bolted on at the end. This is the payoff. This is what good looks like. SBOMs are created automatically for every single build. Policies are enforced by the pipeline itself. Exceptions are tracked in a formal system. GRC has a live dashboard, not a spreadsheet from last quarter. And the whole thing is auditable by design, because the evidence is just the natural output of doing your work. And let's be crystal clear about the real goal here. The point is not to get faster at creating documents that nobody reads. The goal is to create trustworthy, automated signals that help your teams make better, faster, and safer decisions about the software they're building and shipping. So I'll leave you with this one question to take back to your own teams. Take a hard look at your processes and ask yourselves, honestly, right now, is our SBOM just an inventory record, a passive list of what we've already built? Or is it an active control, shaping what we will allow ourselves to release? The answer to that question is going to tell you everything you need to know about the journey you have ahead.